The sun was setting on the cobbled streets of quaint Parisian neighborhood, casting long shadows that danced with the flickering candlelight from the windows of nearby cafes. Edward's midlife crisis loomed large in his thoughts as he sat alone at a tiny table outside one such cafe. He had come to Paris for a change of scenery after 20 years of marriage. The mundane routine of his life had become unbearable, and he found himself questioning everything: his career, his marriage, even his existence. A young woman with fiery red hair and eyes as green as emeralds walked past his table, and their eyes met in an unspoken moment that sent a shiver down Edward's spine. He watched her cross the street and disappear into one of the narrow alleys that made up the old city. The following days saw Edward growing increasingly obsessed with the mysterious woman. He followed her at a discreet distance, learning that she was an art student named Gabrielle. She had a vivacious spirit about her that drew him in, despite his better judgment telling him he should stay away. Gabrielle's world was so different from his own. Her free-spirited nature both intrigued and terrified Edward. He found himself caught between the comfort of his old life and the tantalizing pull of the unknown. Edward couldn't resist the allure of Gabrielle any longer, and they found themselves entangled in a passionate embrace one evening after he'd followed her to an underground jazz club. The affair that followed was one of exquisite intensity. Edward felt like a teenager again, their secret trysts bringing about a whirlwind of emotions both familiar and thrilling. Yet guilt gnawed at him as he tried to reconcile his feelings for Gabrielle with the love he had sworn to uphold for his wife, Lily. The affair couldn't go on forever. The unyielding truth of their situation came crashing down one day when Edward walked into their shared home and found Lily standing in the living room holding a small box. He knew what it held: divorce papers signed and ready to be delivered. In that moment, he realized he had been given a choice: cling to his newfound passion with Gabrielle or return to the security of his marriage. The decision weighed heavy on his soul, as the consequences of either choice would change the course of his life forever. Edward decided it was time for honesty and transparency in his personal relationships. He approached Lily and confessed everything: the midlife crisis, the younger mistress, the entire whirlwind affair that had so drastically altered the fabric of their lives. To his surprise, Lily listened quietly without crying or shouting, her face betraying a mix of sadness and understanding. In the end, they both agreed it was best to go their separate ways. Edward returned to Gabrielle one last time, hoping to find closure in their tumultuous love story. But when he reached her doorstep, he found her with another man younger, perhaps even more alluring. The sight of Gabrielle with someone else was a gut punch that made him realize the fleeting nature of his earlier passion. He came to understand that while the thrill of the forbidden had initially fueled their affair, it could not sustain itself in the face of reality. Edward walked away from Gabrielle's life and into a new chapter for himself. No longer bound by the ties of marriage or the intoxicating pull of forbidden love, he was free to explore his true self and the world around him. The end.